tonight or tomorrow. It's going to cool off. Balmy 93. Yeah, some rain coming in. Heat's going to... I don't know. I mean...
40% chance Friday. So high's going to be 87.
I thought there was some chance throughout the week. Who knows? But the temperature is supposed to be going down this week. So that's a good thing. It's been hot. Yeah. Anybody else got any news? Anybody get a job? Anybody get a house? Anybody make a friend? Have a good meal this week? All right. Can I get someone to say a prayer for us as we start? Well, you're a good prayer, Omar. Anybody else want to do it?
Yeah, anybody.
Jeff, you want to do it? Why don't you give us a prayer?
We ask that you be with our teachers this morning. Guide us through your word. Make our lives better, that our lives may be open and our hearts are open to you. Confidence will be in you. Pray for those who will not able to be here, but at this time, we thank you for the opportunity.
Amen. Thank you, Jeff. We're almost done with our study of the vices. No one likes it when a vice comes to an end, but it has to at some point. So we've got a couple more weeks. We've still got to do lust. So I think 3 more weeks. So take us through the end of August, maybe the first week of September. I'm thinking about what we're going to do next in our Bible class hour. And a couple of ideas that I thought about, but would like to get your opinion on is, one is a study of the nature of God, who God is. So that one is a different kind of study than this. This is practical stuff. So this would really be more intellectual, thinking about who God is in Scripture kind of consistently. So that's one option that I thought of. A second option is a study of the Lord's Supper and what that does. Again, that's a little bit more theological. But what we're actually doing in worship when we're taking it and the different kinds of things it means in Scripture. That may not be a long study, but that's an option I thought of. I think that's all I was kicking around, but let me turn it over to you. Either of those sound interesting, or do you have another option for me? Just the nature of God, yeah, who God is, what things mean, like he's all powerful. What exactly does that mean? Are there things he can't do? Right? Let's see. So that's the kind of questions that we would ask. Yeah, Howard? Yeah.
It also,
okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds interesting to you? Any other thoughts? Again, you can suggest something. Those are just 2 things I was thinking about. You're so handsome.
oh, thanks.
All right, well, you think about it. We've got a few weeks to decide. I'll think about if there's any other ones that I can hook up. But, what's up, Cameron? Let's see back there. Yeah, good. So, this morning we're talking about gluttony. We still have that word. Don't use it a lot. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. It's maybe the least bad of the 7 deadly sins, but it's bad. So, what do you think that word means, the way it's normally used? When we say someone's a glutton, what are we trying to say, usually? Greedy, okay. Well, we've already talked about greed, so this is different from greed.
That's also food.
Food, yeah. So it's particularly kind of greed about food. Something here about food. Anything else come to mind? Alcohol, yeah, I put food or drink. I just include those together. And I just stuck drugs up there too. I think they kind of all can kind of fit in here. Substances. Yeah. It's bad to be glutton. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. Now, I said this is a minor one, and I'll explain why I said that, but it's also something I don't think we take seriously enough. So even though it's minor, maybe we've made it too minor. Because there's actually lots of harmful things around this. And like all the other vices, it's connected. So if you fall into the vice, the bad habit of gluttony, that makes you more susceptible to other bad habits and vices. So, I think it's still important to pay attention to issues around food and drink. Now, is food bad? We talked about this with greed and money, right? Is money bad?
I noticed that it's kind of odd, funny, I guess I look at it, because very few people live.
Yep.
It's very, very kills you in long quantities. So,
Yeah.
to answer your question, food, both good and bad.
Yeah.
Too much of it is very bad.
That's right.
Nothing wrong, but too much of it, really, you know.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that.
Yeah. But is it good or bad? So that's the quantity.
Yes.
We'll come back to that. Who gave us food, Larry?
God.
Okay. Is food good or bad?
Good.
It is good. Food is good. Phil wanted to say it. So this is why gluttony is the kind of the bottom of the list of vices, because it's based on something that's good for us. Money is necessary, but it's a little grayer than food. But we all need food to live. We need food day to day. And God gave us food in the beginning. And God taught us how to farm and make more food. So there's no question about food being good or bad. Gluttony is not about it being good or bad. Gluttony is about our relationship to it. Our relationship to food and drink. And that's where we can go good or bad. So we need to think about what a healthy relationship to food looks like. But it's not a question of whether it is good or bad in itself. Now we can throw alcohol and drugs in there too. Are those good or bad?
Well, it depends on how you use them.
Ah, okay. Let's think about drugs for a minute. Are there good ways to use drugs?
Yeah.
Anybody here take...
What drugs you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just let's take one that like an opioid. Is that good or bad?
Well, if you use it proportionately for pain, control, and stuff like that, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you overdo it to purposely get high, and you don't have pain and stuff like that, that's where it becomes a bad thing.
Yes. Is that right? A painkiller can be really good if you're in pain. Our dear sister Janet, who just had this ankle surgery, she had to take some strong drugs right after her surgery because, they scraped her bones up. And that hurts. And that was good because it made her life better. Those drugs were a blessing for those few days right after her surgery. But can it go wrong? What if she had kept taking them after she didn't need them for that immediate pain? Well, we know that story. So the drug itself isn't good or bad, but it's how we use it, how much we use of it, and so on. It's our relationship to it, which can be either ordered, which means used properly, or disordered, which means used improperly for something other than its intended. If I'm using it to just get high, that's a disordered use. Now what about alcohol? Good or bad?
Same thing.
What does the Bible say about alcohol?
can't think of anything good about partial.
What does the Bible say about it? Psalm 104.
Just don't drink alcohol in excess.
It says wine gladdens the heart. That's a good thing. Ecclesiastes says it. Ecclesiastes 10, Psalm 104. So we get some positive things. On the other hand, there's some pretty strong warnings against drinking improperly or to having a disordered desire, disordered relationship, rather. And we'll read a couple of those. So we're talking about things that aren't in themselves good or bad, right? And so we have to be careful in our moral thinking that we don't just say, here's the box of things that are always good, and here's a box of things that are always bad, and we just totally stay away from these, and we just have these. That's not how most of this stuff works. Everything God gives us has some goodness to it. It's how we use it that determines whether it's good or bad. And how we use it is actually connected to our heart, which is where I want us to go back to. So, it's not ultimately a behavior. How we are eating or drinking or using the drugs, that matters. But what really matters from the biblical perspective is the heart, what we desire. So let's read some verses and see if that makes more sense. Someone read Proverbs 23, verse 2, and then stay in Proverbs 23. We'll look at one more verse. Actually, just read 20 and 21 first, then we'll go back to 2. 2's kind of dramatic. Psalm 23, 20 and 21. That gives us something concrete. Proverbs. Yeah. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 20 and 21.
Be not among the wine bibbers, among the rising and flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe the man with rags.
Okay, wine bibber, not a word we use a whole lot anymore, but basically a wine bibber is a drunk, an alcoholic. So Proverbs says don't hang around those folks, because what's going to happen to drunks, and it says gluttons and drunks essentially. What's going to happen? What's the end result? Poverty. They don't end up in a good place. Yeah. So there's some of that strong warning against eating and drinking in the wrong kinds of ways. Now look at verse 2. This is the strong language. Put a knife to your throat if you're a man given to appetites. What do you think that means? What does it mean to be given to appetites? Okay, what's the appetite there? Yeah, I may just love food. It's okay to love food because it's good, but loving food in the wrong way is dangerous. Or loving alcohol in the wrong way, or loving drugs in the wrong way. Any of these substances that are good, but we're loving them the wrong way. And what does the Proverbs writer say? If you are at risk, if you're a man of appetite, do what? Kill yourself. I mean, don't kill yourself. But that's the language here. Put a knife to your throat. That's how seriously the writer of Proverbs takes this idea of appetites. Unhealthy relationships. Now, let me say just a word about gluttony versus addiction. Because when we're talking about drugs and alcohol, it's easy to think about addiction. Is the vice of gluttony the same thing as addiction? And if not, what difference is there between addictions and appetite or gluttony?
I think that it can lead to addiction.
Yes?
That's the danger.
Yes? So where's the difference?
opposed to addiction to the same thing, you know, it's all the same thing, still said.
They're both a disordered desire. I mean, there's a problem with both, but there is a difference if we can figure it out. Yeah. When you have an addiction, are you totally in control?
No.
That's the difference. To have an addiction is to not have your full free will. Your free will is impaired by the addiction. It might be chemical. It might be, I think there's other kinds of addictions, emotional addictions and so on. But addiction means you're not choosing. It's just a compulsion. But when we're talking about gluttony, we are talking about something that we have some control over. Phil's right. The habit can lead to addiction, and that is the danger. And that's a kind of slavery or imprisonment, which is why we don't want to be addicted to anything. Yeah.
If I may, I think part of it too is the way we get our food now. You know, for many places, you have to go to your food. You have to take care of your animals.
Yes.
You know, that was a work reward relationship.
Yes.
And I think now everything's out of balance. You just go pick up your food.
And that's a good perception. And I want us to talk about that when we think about the characteristics of gluttony. Come back to that, because in our world it means something than it did in the ancient world. And so we need to think deeply in the ways that I think you're pointing to. That's really good. Okay, Philippians 3:19. This again helps us see that this is not about behavior, but it's really about the heart. Someone read Philippians 3:19. Yeah, what's the part there? Say it out loud, Jeff, and we can all hear it. What's the part there that touches on gluttony? Paul is writing people whose God is their belly. What do you think Paul means when he's criticizing this group of people whose God is their belly? Yeah, it's your focus. Your appetites, your belly, have become your focus, or we might say your ultimate concern. The most important thing for you is satisfying your bodily needs. They become more important even than God. Yes. This is why it's a hard issue. So gluttony isn't about eating too much exclusively, because eating too little can also be a form of gluttony. Eating too little is also disordered relationship to food. And there are people who struggle with that, right? So just like everything else, there's these two extremes, too much, too little. But the basic problem is I'm thinking about food or drink too much. And I'm thinking about it in the wrong ways. I've made it a god. Their gods are their bellies. One more verse, and then we'll look at some qualities of this vice. Deuteronomy 21:20. Yeah, and now this section is about a rebellious child. Okay, so this is instructions on how to deal with a rebellious child. But verse 20 helps us understand something about gluttony too.
They shall say unto the oath, let me see. This is son of stubborn and rebellious, even on the way of voice, is a glutton and drunk.
Okay, so the rebellious child here is a glutton and a drunkard. Those are problems, you know. You don't want that coming home. But the bigger issue than the eating and drinking is what? The rebellion. This is a child who isn't staying within their limits in the proper relationship of parent to child. So this child is not obeying his parents. And that's related to the gluttony and the drunkenness. Because a child needs to obey their parents. That's the order of things. In the same way, our bodies need food and drink, but in the right way. And there are limits to how much and what kinds of food and drink we need. Right? So that's also part of the disordered relationship. I can make food a god, thinking about it too much. I can also use food, drink, or drugs in ways that are out of order with my own body, that don't respect the limits of my own body. You know, the body can only metabolize alcohol at a certain rate. And if I drink faster than my body can metabolize it, not only do I get drunk and do stupid or harmful things, but I actually damage my body, which is a gift from God. If I eat foods that are unhealthy and I eat too much of them, that damages my body. I've disrespected the limits of my body. And we can throw one more thing in there when we're talking about limits. I've got them here, yeah. So this is a child who's not respecting their parents. There's issues here around the social dimensions of food. There are disordered ways of eating that don't have anything at all to do with the food. And I'll use drinking here as an example. In the Bible, positive drinking is always with other people. It's a social activity. What do you say about someone drinking by themselves? That may be a problem, right? That's a sign, usually. If someone's drinking alone, they're using alcohol for the wrong kinds of reasons. What if you see somebody eating alone?
Well, eating, unlike alcohol, eating is necessary.
Yes.
To sustain the body. So,
that's true. But if someone is consistently eating alone, I'll put it like that.
they need a roommate.
It's a flag too, it should be. We all know to recognize drinking alone as a problem, but I think in our society we've said it's okay to eat alone because we've said food isn't connected to relationships or sociality. But in the Bible, certainly, there is a connection. Food is a time when people get together at tables. And there's a healthy way of eating that's not just about the calories in the hamburger, but that it's about the setting in which you're eating. If I'm eating in my car by myself every day, that's unhealthy. Not just for my artery center, right? Candace does a lot of work on this because she works with students. You got anything to say about the social dimensions of eating?
It has more than just physical benefits. It's good for your well-being overall. It increases your mood, your happiness.
Yeah.
And I think on the other side, I was thinking about at work, you know, just eat at their desk and don't eat their desk. And that gluttony at work there too.
Yeah.
You can't take a break from that to eat in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Something I'm thinking back when I was a kid, we always had our meals together.
Yeah.
Big thing. And as time moved on, I see how our society is pushed away from big other countries like Italy. Everybody comes together for dinner. It's a big thing. It's a big event. Talk, eat, it keeps it balanced. But here, we become more like a drive through there, something to eat. And I think it's there where we are now with our health relationship with food. You know, the social aspect or the family aspect that they're taking away, and food will be something that's valuable, balance is so on. Maybe that's why people end up over it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the conversation, we don't have the lack, we don't have the
Yeah.
Coming together, it seems, I think you said that.
It slows you down a little bit. You're right. There's all these connection things, and Kenneth brought up work. This country probably has work as its God more than anything else. So much so that we have to pass laws that employers have to give people lunch breaks. Like, in what other parts of the world is it we work so much that we actually have to have laws, and that's a good thing, by the way. I think laws are good. But to make sure people get lunch. Otherwise, we would all be eating at the desk, right? So it's connected to these different aspects of our humanity, food and drink. And there's an order to things. And it's not like it's A, B, and C, and every meal needs to be like this. It's not that. But like you're saying, Jeff, there's just ways that these things connect that are healthy. And it can get off balance in a variety of ways. So, maintaining the limits of our body, how much I take in, the kinds of foods I take in, the social side, how and who I'm eating with. Jesus actually had tons to say about who we eat with, didn't he? Eat with your family, eat with your friends, but eat with the sick and the people on the margins. He talked about that. And then we can also talk about the environment. Are there environmental impacts to the way that we eat? The expression, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? If I can buy a Happy Meal for $2 or $5 or whatever it is now, maybe $12, who's paying the price? It may be the earth, right? Because of agricultural techniques, or the way that cows are being treated, or the way that corn is being grown. And that all seems kind of back from distant. Like you said, we're divorced from the land today.
The waste products of what we have now is not contributing to renewal. You got a lot of unnatural foods that we eat.
Yeah.
And they're going back into the environment, they don't break down natural.
Hormones and antibiotics. Yeah. And we don't spend a lot of time thinking about these things unless someone close to us has gotten sick because of it. Maybe you know somebody that's gotten sick. But it is part of the limits of how we eat. And this is more systemic than personal. But again, when we get really cheap food, it does come at a price somewhere. And it may be labor. Who are we not paying to grow this food and process it? Or it could be the land itself paying the price by being leached out of nutrients or being poisoned with various chemicals. So that's just something to keep in mind when we're talking about the limits or boundaries that touch on food. Anybody else have something to contribute to that? All right, real quick, I'll give you these 5 things. This comes from lists from the early church going through the Middle Ages. When they talked about gluttony, they said there's 5 ways that we can have a disordered relationship to food. And this will be quick. These are funny words, too. The first is we can eat too daintily. Dainty eater is a picky eater, a fussy eater. Someone who kind of separates the little things in their plates. It's okay not to eat everything on your plate, but you all know what this means, right? A fussy eater. Or a snobbish eater. I don't drink that kind of coffee. Something like this. That doesn't mean you have to drink every kind of coffee, but that's a category here. Remember, gluttony is thinking too much about food. So that's one way we can think too much, being too fussy or perfectionist. The other is to eat too sumptuously. And this means eating rich foods, exotic foods, expensive and costly foods. That can be a form of gluttony. The third is to eat too hastily. And this kind of gets back to the eating at work conversation. Scarfing it down. It may also be connected to impatience, like I can't wait. I'm eating between meals all the time. Back when these rules were written, people did all eat together. right? So there's a sense in which you wait for everyone to get to the table and then you start eating, or something like that. We don't have to go back to the old ways, but there is a sense in which learning patience. Food is a good way to learn patience. Right? It's okay to be hungry for a few more minutes. We're always telling our kids that. Just dinner's in 30 minutes. You can wait. To eat too greedily. This is to kind of give yourself over to the food, and that's really about eating quickly. And to eat without any table manners. So table manners are important. They're ways that we're actually respecting each other at the table. So greediness is connected to that, like a pig, eating like a pig. And then the last one, we get back to the place where we started. What is gluttony? Well, at the end of the day, it really is just about eating too much, more than we need, taking more than we need, exceeding our limits, and then harms come from that. Yeah.
Let's go to Dr. Dinner and talk about the tribe of Africa, and they're kind of back. But we were talking about, we had to die and this but one day they ate whatever they found that day.
Oh, yeah.
So they found meat this day, and we don't find meat every day. Next day they ate nuts and something else, and then the next day and what the narrator was saying was that they had found that diet like that has actually shown that they had a better health.
Yeah.
Because the body is getting balance, it's not getting the same. They may not need as much food.
Right.
Not only be able to live.
Yeah.
But we found that your body was able to, that absolute dangerous foods, help the system really, it was pretty interesting. I never thought about food like that.
To eat seasonally, yeah.
Yeah, I grew up, eat table.
Yeah. But our grandparents didn't, they ate what came in at the different times of the year. And you eat beef when you slaughter cow, you eat pork in the fall when you slaughter the pigs. After you grow up this stuff, slaughtering pigs. Oh yeah. There's times when you eat parts of the pig, and yeah. But I think it also gets back to a theological concept, which is the proper relationship to food, and that's it's a gift. Food is a gift from God, and we receive it. We take it. We don't go grab it. And what's the very first sin in the Bible? Someone taking food. Not waiting for God to give it to them. They took that fruit. So, it is a gift. Life is a gift. And we receive it when it comes to us, and we give thanks. All right. That'll do it. We'll be back for worship in 10.